Okay, so we're going to look at Meanders and Oxbow lakes now, which we find on the middle course of the river. This is formed from erosion and deposition. So it's formed from both of them. We'll find them on the middle course because our river is eroding laterally. So we have a lateral erosion, which is another word for horizontal. So it's eroding that way, it's eroding outwards. Okay, so stage one then of our meander, we have, I'm going to draw this, it doesn't always go perfectly. So meander, remember, is a bend in our river. So stage one, we first got to think about this part of the river, which we call the foul leg. Remember, the foul leg is the fastest flow. So the arrows I've drawn is the foul leg. Okay, if the fastest flow is going to hit these parts of the river, this is our outside bend. If we're thinking about the shear force of water hitting rock, we call that, remember, hydraulic action. So we're going to have erosion on the outside of the bend because our shear force of our water is going to hit it, it's going to start eroding it. So your erosion type here is hydraulic action. Remember, we are being specific with the type of erosion. We are not just saying erosion to the examiner. Okay, what this creates is a little river cliff. So similar to your waterfall, it undercuts it, so it hits it, and eventually it will create a little river cliff that somewhat on the corner looks like that. Because the water is hitting this part, it eventually will create a little river cliff like this. Okay, you also have, and I'm going to use a different coloured pen, something happening on the inside of the bend. If you have not got the force of water and you've not got that energy, what tends to happen, remember, along the coast or along a river, is we find deposition. So we're going to write a little D for deposition here. We have deposition that happens on the inside bend. And that is where lots of material is deposited and it creates a little like river beach type thing, a slip-off slope they like to call it. So here where your deposition happens, you have a slip-off slope. Remember, that's due to the lack of energy. That's not where our fastest flow is, so the water cannot carry the material, so it drops it. The next stage of a meander is our neck is going to get thinner. So we might have something that looks like this. So your neck of your meander here has got thinner. So the neck of the meander has got thinner. This, remember, is due to erosion happening on these two sides here. It is wearing it down because the fastest flow, and it is getting thinner and thinner. You can see our original bend now is much tighter here. What eventually will happen, which a lot of us do talk about in our exam, we forget this middle stage, is our river is going to want to follow the shortest route possible to its next destination. So we tend to find this happen. So our water now, our fastest flow, often during a flood. So during a flood, the water breaks through. The water breaks through the neck to find the shortest route. Find the shortest route. But we still have our original bend here. Remember, this is our fastest flow, and that's where our material is going to be carried and transported along the river. Where we don't have our fastest flow, we often find deposition, as mentioned before, happening. So what happens is the river will start to deposit material on the entry to the bend that we once had. So we find deposition happens here, cutting off the old bend. So it cuts off the old bend here, and we have this bit. What will eventually happen is it will dry up, and often during a flood we might be able to see that bend again look like this, but you'll sort of see a scar in the landscape. It will start to grow different types of vegetation. Remember, we are being specific about why deposition happens, we are being specific about the type of erosion, and if you get asked in your exam about an oxbow lake, you need to take the examiner all the way through. If you get asked in your exam about a meander, you don't need to necessarily talk about your oxbow lake here.